The stars looked the same as they always had, cold, distant, uncaring. Commander. Jinha stood on the bridge of the Indomitable and watched them through the main view screen. His dark eyes showed nothing, no anger, no fear, just the quiet patience that had kept humanity alive for 200 years. Commander, said Captain Haran from her station, we're getting close to their space. Jinha nodded. The Galactic Confederation thought they owned these stars. They had drawn lines on maps and called them borders. They had built fleets and called them protection. They had written laws and called them justice. They were wrong about all of it. Any response to our approach? Jinha asked. Nothing yet, Haran replied. Her fingers moved over her control panel like a pianist playing a deadly song. But their sensors are screaming. They know we're here. Of course they did. The Indomitable was not built to hide. It was built to be seen, to be feared, to make people ask questions they were not ready to hear answered. Jinha walked to the center of the bridge. Around him, his crew worked at their stations. They were all human, all survivors, all carrying the weight of what their species had become during the long years of exile. Chief Quan, Jinha called to the engineering station. Yes, Commander? Quan's voice came through the ship's communication system. He was deep in the engineering sections, tending to the heart of their impossible vessel. How is she feeling today? There was a pause. To outsiders, the question would sound strange. Ships were machines. They did not feel, but the Indomitable was different. She was more than metal and energy. She was alive in ways the galaxy had forgotten were possible. Eager, Quan replied. She knows where we're going. She remembers. Jinha smiled. It was not a pleasant expression. Good, tell her to be patient. Soon. The Galactic Confederation had ruled the galaxy for 800 years. They were proud of their civilization. They had brought peace to 1,000 worlds. They had ended wars, stopped famines, and created a society where every species had its place. Every species except 1,200 years ago, the humans had been a problem. They came from a world called Earth, a death world. A planet so dangerous that simply living there made a species strong in ways that made other aliens nervous. Humans did not follow rules well. They asked too many questions. They wanted to explore places that should be left alone. They fought wars that could not be won and somehow won them anyway. They took things that were impossible and made them work. The Confederation had tried to manage them. They offered humans a place in their society. A small place. A quiet place. A place where humans could be useful without being dangerous. The humans had refused. War followed. The record said it lasted 3 years. The record said the humans fought bravely but were overwhelmed by superior numbers and technology. The record said their homeworld was destroyed and their species extinct. The records lied. Incoming transmission, Haran announced. Multiple sources. They're not happy. The main screen changed. Instead of stars, it now showed the faces of various alien species. A gentle Alphan diplomat with soft features and worried eyes. A Corvan military analyst with insect-like features clicking nervously. A massive Vorthak admiral whose 4 arms gestured in threatening patterns. Unknown vessel, the Alphan spoke first, its voice musical and pleading. You have entered Confederation space without permission. Please identify yourself and state your intentions. Jinha did not respond. He simply watched them with the same expression he had worn while watching the stars, cold, patient, waiting. The Corvan leaned forward, its compound eyes reflecting light like broken glass. Our sensors cannot penetrate your hull. Your energy. Signature matches no known technology. You will submit to inspection or be destroyed. Still, Jinha said nothing. The Vorthak admiral slammed one of his massive fists against his command console. Enough games. I am Admiral Zenth of the Confederation. Defense Force, you will respond or face the consequences. Jinha finally spoke. His voice was quiet, almost gentle. Admiral Zenth, the alien's 4 eyes widened. You know my name? I know many things, Admiral. I know that your great-grandfather fought in the human war. I know that he wrote reports about weapons that should not exist. I know that those reports were classified and hidden away where no one would read them. Zenth's mandibles clicked in patterns that showed fear. Impossible. The humans are extinct. We made sure of it. Did you? Jinha asked. He stepped closer to the screen. Are you certain? Around the bridge of the Indomitable, alert lights began to flash. Not warning lights, anticipation lights. The ship knew what was coming. Harin, Jinha said without looking away from the screen. Show them. Harin's fingers danced across her control panel. The ship's external cameras activated, turning to focus on the hull of their own vessel. The images appeared on screens throughout Confederation space. The aliens saw a ship unlike anything in their databases. It was long and sleek, with curves that seemed to flow like water frozen in time. Its hull was dark but seemed to shift and move in the light of distant stars. Weapon ports opened and closed like breathing. Energy fields flickered around it like living lightning, but it was the size that made them truly afraid. The Indomitable was 3 kilometers long. It was a ship built not for exploration or trade, but for war. A ship designed by a species that had learned hard lessons about survival. A ship that existed in violation of half the known laws of physics. That's impossible, whispered the Corvin. Analyst. No species has the technology to build something like that. You're right, Jinha agreed. No species you know has that technology. Admiral Zenth's voice was barely a whisper. What are you? Jinha smiled again. This time there was no coldness in it. Only sadness. The sadness of a man who had seen his people branded as extinct and had spent 2 centuries proving that death was just another obstacle to overcome. We, he said, are what you made us. We are the fire you tried to extinguish. We are the question you refused to answer. We are the humans you forgot to kill properly. The transmission cut out. Across Confederation space, alarms began to sound. Fleets mobilized, commanders shouted orders. Politicians called emergency meetings. But on the bridge of the Indomitable, Jinha simply turned back to the stars and waited. The galaxy was about to remember why they had feared humanity in the first place, and this time there would be no forgetting. Quan, he called to engineering. Yes, Commander? Tell her she doesn't have to wait much longer. Deep in the ship's heart, something that was more than machinery purred with anticipation. The hunt was about to begin. The message came from the dark edges of space where good things rarely happened. Commander Jinha stood in the communication center of the Indomitable, listening to words that made his blood run cold. The voice was rough, broken by static and pain, but the meaning was clear. This is War Chief Thaken of the Thurny colonies. We are under attack. Our worlds are dying. The Devourers have returned. Harin looked up from her station. Devourers? I thought they were just stories. So did everyone else, Jinha replied. He had heard the old tales. Machines that ate entire worlds. Ships that turned planets into empty shells. A plague of metal and hunger that had terrified the galaxy long. Before humans had ever reached the stars, the message continued. We have fought for 60 days. We have lost 2 colonies. Caliph Prime will fall within hours. The Confederation has abandoned us. If anyone can hear this, if anyone cares, we are dying. The transmission cut to static. Jinha stood in silence for a long moment. Around him, the crew of the Indomitable waited. They all knew what this meant. The Thurny were Deathworlders like humans had been. They were fighters. If they were calling for help, things were very bad. Harin, Jinha said finally, get me a connection to Confederation High Command. Sir, I want to know what they're doing about this. The screen flickered to life. Admiral Zenth appeared, looking tired and frustrated. Behind him, Jinha could see other alien officers arguing in the background. What do you want, human? Zenth asked. The Thurny colonies are under attack. What are you doing to help them? Zenth's mandibles clicked in what might have been laughter. Help them? Why would we waste resources on Deathworlders? They chose to live on those horrible planets. Let them deal with the consequences. They're dying. They're always dying. That's what Death Worlders do. If they were smart, they would have chosen better worlds to live on. Jinha felt something cold settle in his chest. So you're doing nothing. The Confederation Council has decided the cost is too high. 3 colonies of primitive fighters are not worth risking our fleets, especially not against the Devourers. See, besides, Zenth continued, we have bigger problems. Like explaining to the Council why humans are still alive when they should be extinct. Jinha cut the connection. Sir? Harin asked. What are your orders? Jinha looked at the stars on the main screen. Somewhere out there, people were dying while the galaxy's great civilization decided they were not worth saving. It was a familiar feeling. 200 years ago, the Confederation had made the same choice about humanity. Quan, he called to engineering. Yes, Commander. How long to reach the Callith system? At maximum speed? 18 hours? Make it 12. Sir, that would require pushing the engines past safe limits. Jinha's voice was quiet but firm. Quan, make it 12 hours. Yes, sir. The ship understands. Harin frowned. Commander, we don't know how many Devourer ships are in that system. We could be flying into a trap. Does that matter? No, sir. I suppose it doesn't, Jinha nodded. This was what separated humans from the rest of the galaxy. When faced with impossible odds, other species calculated costs and benefits. Humans asked a different question. Was it the right thing to do? The Indomitable changed course, its impossible engines bending space around it. Deep in the ship's core, Quan worked with systems that defied everything the galaxy thought it knew about physics. How is she handling the increased speed? Jinha asked over the com. She's excited, Quan replied. I think she's been waiting for this. Waiting for what? To show the galaxy what we can really do. As they traveled through hyperspace, Jinha received more transmissions from the Callith system. Each one was worse than the last. Callith 2 has gone silent, reported War Chief Thaken. We can see the Devourers stripping the planet bare. They're turning our home materials for more ships. Callith 3 is falling back to the mountain fortresses, came another voice. But the machines are learning our tactics. They adapt to everything we try. This is our final transmission from Callith Prime. Thaken's voice was barely a whisper. We have perhaps 6 hours left. Our children are in the deep shelters, but even those won't hold forever. If anyone hears this, remember us, remember that we fought. Harin looked at Jinha. 12 hours might be too late. Then we make it 10. The ship shuddered as Quan pushed the engines even harder. Warning lights flashed throughout the vessel, but the Indomitable held together. She was built for this. Built to do the impossible. When the impossible was the only option. Sir, the communication officer called out. We're getting a signal from Confederation Command. Admiral Zenth wants to speak with you. Put him through. Zenth's face appeared on the screen. He looked angry and scared. Where are you going, human? To do what you won't. You cannot interfere with Confederation policy. Those Death Worlders are not your responsibility. Jinha stared at the Admiral for a long moment. You're right, they're not our responsibility. But that doesn't mean we won't help them. One ship cannot make a difference against the Devourers. You're going to your death. Maybe, but at least we're going. Jinha cut the connection again. 10 hours to Callith, Quan reported. The ship is holding together, but just barely. She make it, Jinha said with confidence. She knows what's at stake. Harin checked her weapon systems. Sir, what's our battle plan? The Devourers are supposed to be unstoppable. They've consumed entire sectors. So have we. Sir? Jinha smiled. It was not a pleasant expression. Harin, what did the Confederation try to do to humanity 200 years ago? They tried to consume us, wipe us out completely. And how did that work out for them? Harin's own smile was sharp as a blade. Not very well, sir. The Devourers are machines. They follow programs. They adapt to known threats. Jinha looked out at the stars rushing past them. But we're not a known threat anymore. We're something new, something they've never seen before. What if we're wrong? What if we can't stop them? Then the Thurny will know they didn't die alone. And sometimes, Haran, that's enough. 8 hours later, the Indomitable dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the Calith system. What they saw made even these hardened warriors pause. 3 worlds hung in space like broken toys. 2 were dark and lifeless, their surfaces scraped, cleaned by mechanical swarms. The third, Caliph Primae, was covered in fire and smoke. Around it, thousands of devourer ships moved like insects, methodically taking apart everything they touched. "My God," whispered the navigation officer. "Contact the Thurny," Jinha ordered. "Tell them help has arrived." "Sir," Harin said quietly, "there are over 10,000 enemy ships in this system. We're just one vessel." Jinha looked at the tactical display showing the massive devourer fleet. Any sane species would have turned around and run. Any reasonable commander would have called for reinforcements. Any normal ship would have been destroyed in the first few minutes of battle, but humans were not sane. The Indomitable was not normal, and Jinha had not spent 200 years learning to be reasonable. "Juan," he called to engineering, "is she ready?" "She's been ready for 2 centuries, Commander. She's hungry for this fight." "Then let's show the galaxy what humans do when someone threatens the innocent." The Indomitable moved forward into the killing field, alone against impossible odds. But as they advanced, something strange happened. The ship began to change. Hull? Plates shifted, weapon ports opened. Energy fields that had been dormant for decades came online. The Devourers had never seen anything like it. And they were about to learn why that was a very dangerous thing. The battle for Calith was about to begin. The first Devourer ship died before it knew it was under attack. One moment it was stripping metal from Calith Prime's surface. The next moment it was spreading across space in a cloud of glowing debris. The Indomitable had fired a single shot from a weapon that shouldn't exist. "Target destroyed," Harin reported. Her voice was calm, professional. She might have been discussing the weather. Around them, 10,000 Devourer ships stopped what they were doing. Their mechanical minds tried to process what had just happened. One of their vessels had been destroyed by an unknown weapon from an impossible ship. Their sensors couldn't explain it. Their battle computers couldn't understand it. Jinha stood at the center of the bridge, watching the enemy fleet react. "Quan, ship status? All systems green, Commander." "She's just getting warmed up." The Devourers began to move. Thousands of ships turned toward the Indomitable. They moved in perfect formation, like a school of metal fish swimming through space. Their weapons charged, their targeting systems locked on. "Incoming fire," Harin announced. "Roughly 3,000 energy beams, 2,000 missiles, and something I can't identify." "Evasive action?" "Not necessary, sir," Jinha nodded. The Indomitable didn't dodge the incoming attacks. Instead, she did something the Devourers had never seen before. She folded, space twisted around the human ship. The enemy weapons passed through empty air where the Indomitable had been. But the ship wasn't gone. It was everywhere and nowhere, existing in multiple dimensions at once. "A shift complete," Quan reported. "We're operating in parallel space now. Show them what we learned during the exile years." The Indomitable reappeared behind the Devourer formation. Her weapons fired again. Not one shot this time, but hundreds. Each beam found its target with impossible precision. Devourer ships exploded in chains of light across the darkness, but this was just the beginning. As the battle continued, something strange happened to the Indomitable. She began to change. Hull sections split apart and recombined in new configurations. Weapon ports appeared where there had been none before. The ship's very structure flowed like liquid metal, adapting to each new threat. "Sir," the navigation officer called out. "The ship is going." Jinha smiled. "She's remembering what she was built for." The Devourers tried to adapt. It was what they did. They analyzed the human weapons and created defenses. They studied the ship's movements and predicted its next position. They learned from each exchange and modified their tactics. It didn't matter. Every time the Devourers created a new defense, The Indomitable revealed a new weapon. Every time they predicted her movement, she appeared somewhere impossible. Every time they thought they understood her capabilities, she demonstrated something that broke their understanding. "This is impossible," came a transmission from the lead Devourer ship. Its voice was mechanical, emotionless, but there was something new in it. "Confusion. You violate fundamental laws. You should not exist." Jinha opened the channel. "We get that a lot?" On Caliph Prime's surface, War Chief Thakin watched the battle through his bunker's sensors. He had fought wars his entire life. He understood combat, tactics, the flow of battle. What he was seeing above his world made no sense. "How many ships does the enemy have?" asked one of his warriors. "One," Thakin replied. "One what? One fleet? One squadron? One ship." The warrior stared at him. "That's impossible. No single ship could fight 10,000 enemies." "Watch and learn," Thakin said quietly above them. The Indomitable moved through the Devourer fleet like a shark through a school of fish. She didn't fight in formation. She didn't use standard tactics. She simply appeared where she was needed, struck with impossible force, and vanished before retaliation could arrive. But it wasn't just the weapons or the technology that made her deadly. It was the way she fought. The Devourers were machines. They followed patterns, used logic, calculated probabilities. The Indomitable fought like something alive, something angry, something that took the destruction of innocence personally. "Sir," Harin called out, "the Devourers are trying something new. They're linking their ships together into a single network. Let them—" The enemy vessels connected with streams of energy. Suddenly, instead of fighting 10,000 separate ships, the humans faced a single massive intelligence. The linked Devourers moved as one, thought as one, attacked as one. "That's actually smarter," Jinha admitted. "Now they can coordinate perfectly." "Should we be worried?" asked the communication officer. "No, now they're predictable." The linked Devourer fleet moved against the Indomitable with perfect coordination. Every ship fired at the exact same moment. Every movement was calculated for maximum efficiency. It was beautiful in its precision. It was also exactly what Jinha had been waiting for. "Quan," he called to engineering. "Remember what we learned fighting the Vorthic fleets? The Cascade Protocol? Sir, that was never tested on this scale." "It's been tested enough. Execute." Deep in the ship's core, Quan activated systems that had been sleeping for 2 centuries. The Indomitable fired a single beam at the lead Devourer vessel, but this wasn't a weapon designed to destroy. It was designed to teach. The beam hit the enemy ship and passed through it harmlessly. Then it jumped to the next ship in the network. And the next, and the next. Within seconds, it had touched every vessel in the linked fleet. "What was that?" Harin asked. "A lesson," Jinha replied. "The effect was immediate. The linked Devourer ships began to behave strangely. Their perfect coordination broke down. Ships fired on their own allies. Navigation systems sent vessels crashing into each other. The single massive intelligence fractured into thousands of confused, panicking fragments. "What did you do to them?" came a desperate transmission from the enemy fleet. "We taught them to be human," Jinha replied. "We showed them what it's like to be afraid, to doubt, to make mistakes. Congratulations. You just learned what emotions feel like." The Devourer fleet tore itself apart. Ships that had functioned perfectly for millennia suddenly couldn't work. Together, the mechanical precision that had made them unstoppable became a weakness as fear and confusion spread through their network. But Jinha wasn't finished. "Harin, target the planet killer ships. The ones stripping Caliph Prime." "Sir, there are hundreds of them. All of them." At once, the Indomitable rose above the battle, her hull now 3 times its original size. Weapon ports covered her surface like stars. Energy gathered around her until she glowed like a small sun. Then she fired everything. Hundreds of beams lanced out from the human ship, each one finding a planet killer. The massive Devourer vessels, each one the size of a city, exploded in sequence across the sky. The chain reaction lit up the entire system on Caliph Prime. 30 warriors emerged from their bunkers to watch the light show above. They had never seen anything like it. Their legends spoke of heroes who could fight impossible battles, but this was beyond legend. This was one ship crewed by beings who refused to accept that some fights couldn't be won. "Sir," Quan reported, "we're getting massive energy readings from the remaining Devourer ships. They're trying to retreat. Let them go?" Jinha considered this. The remaining enemy ships were fleeing in terror, their perfect formation broken, their confidence destroyed. They would carry word of this battle to whatever dark corner of space they came from. No, he decided. They came here to consume innocence. They don't get to leave. The Indomitable moved after the fleeing ships like an angel of vengeance. One by one, she hunted them down. Some tried to fight, some begged for mercy. Some simply tried to hide. None of it mattered. 2 hours after the battle began, the Caliph system was quiet. Debris from 10,000 Devourer ships drifted among the stars like metal snow. The threat that had terrified the galaxy for millennia was gone, destroyed by a single human vessel. "System clear," Harin reported. "All enemy contacts eliminated," Jinha nodded. But the Indomitable wasn't done yet. The ship moved toward Caliph Prime's wounded surface, and something impossible began to happen. The war was over. Now it was time to heal. The healing began with light. Commander Jinha watched from the bridge as the Indomitable extended massive tendrils of pure energy toward Caliph Prime. The planet's surface was scarred and broken, cities lay in ruins. Oceans had been drained. The sky was filled with smoke and ash. But as the energy touched the wounded world, something beautiful happened. "Quan," Jinha called to engineering, "report." "She's singing, Commander," Quan replied, wonder in his voice. "The ship is actually singing. I've never heard anything like it." On Caliph Prime's surface, War Chief Thakin stood outside his bunker and watched the sky change. The smoke was clearing. The ash was settling. And somehow, impossibly, green things were beginning to grow in the poisoned soil. "What are they doing?" asked one of his warriors. "Fixing what was broken," Thakin replied. He had tears in his eyes. He had thought his world was dead. He had thought his people would have to find a new home among the stars, but the humans were giving them back their world. The dead oceans began to stir. The poisoned air grew clean. The broken cities remained broken, but the land around them bloomed with new life. It would take time to rebuild, but they had time now. The Devourers were gone and the world was healing. "How is this possible?" Thakin asked the sky. "Because," came a voice from above, "that's what humans do." Harin had opened a communication channel. Her voice was gentle, kind. "We don't just destroy our enemies, War Chief. We heal what they tried to break." "Why?" Thakin asked. "Why help us? We are nothing to you. We cannot repay this debt." Jinha took over the communication. "You don't need to repay anything. You needed help. We gave it. That's enough. But we are just Death Worlders. The galaxy considers us worthless. The galaxy is wrong about many things." As the healing continued, emergency broadcasts filled space. The news of the battle at Caliph spread like wildfire through Confederation space. One human ship had destroyed an entire Devourer fleet. The machines that had terrorized the galaxy for centuries were gone, wiped out in a single afternoon. More importantly, the humans were back. In the halls of Confederation power, panic spread faster than the news. Admiral Zenth stood before the Emergency Council, his 4 hands shaking as he delivered his report. "The destruction was total," he said. 10,000 Devourer ships, gone, in less than 3 hours. "How many human ships were involved?" asked a Corvin counselor. One squadron, 1 ship." The council chamber fell silent. These were beings who commanded fleets of thousands. They ruled sectors containing billions of lives. The idea that a single ship could do what their entire military could not was beyond their understanding. "What do they want?" asked an Alphan diplomat. "We don't know," Zenth replied. "They saved the 30 colonies and then ... stopped. They're just sitting there, healing the planets." "Healing them how?" "We don't know that either. Our best scientists can't explain what they're doing." The technology is beyond our understanding. A Vorthic general slammed his fist on the table. Then we destroy them before they become a threat. With what? Zenth asked. Our entire fleet couldn't handle a fraction of what the Devourers brought to Calith, and the humans destroyed them all without taking damage. So what do you suggest? We listen to what they have to say. On the bridge of the Indomitable, Jinha received word that the Confederation wanted to talk. He smiled. It was the same smile he had worn when watching the stars. Patient, knowing, ready. Put them through, he told Haran. The main screen filled with alien faces. The same faces he had seen before, but now they looked different. Before they had been arrogant, dismissive. Now they looked afraid. Commander Jinha, Admiral Zenth began. The Confederation Council wishes to thank you for eliminating the Devourer threat. You're welcome. We would like to discuss the terms of humanity's return to galactic civilization. Jinha's smile grew colder. Return, Admiral, we never left. You just forgot we were here. The records clearly state, the records lie. You killed some of us, yes. You destroyed some of our worlds. But humans are like weeds, Admiral. Cut us down in one place and we grow back stronger somewhere else. What do you want? Asked a Corvan counselor. Jinha stood up. Behind him, the bridge of the Indomitable hummed with power. Outside the ship, the healing of Caliph Prime continued. We want what we've always wanted, he said. To be left alone to help those who need help. To explore the places others fear to go. To do the impossible when the impossible needs doing. And if we say no? Jinha's expression didn't change. You won't. How can you be so certain? Because you've seen what one human ship can do, and Admiral, we have more than one ship. Across human space, ships began to move. Ships that had been hidden in asteroid fields and nebulae. Ships that had been disguised as space stations and research outposts. Ships that had been waiting 200 years for this moment. The Confederation's long-range sensors detected them. One by one, dozens, hundreds, each one different from the others, but all carrying the same impossible technology. All crewed by humans who had spent centuries learning to be more than their enemies thought possible. How many ships do you have? Whispered the Althan diplomat. Enough, Jinha replied. Enough for what? Enough to make sure no one ever again. Besides that, some people aren't worth saving. The communication fell silent. On 100 worlds, alien leaders tried to understand what humanity's return meant. Some wanted to fight, some wanted to negotiate, some wanted to hide. But War Chief Thakin, standing on his healing world, understood perfectly. They're not conquerors, he told his warriors as they watched the human ship work. They're protectors. They came because we needed help, and they'll stay as long as someone needs protecting. What kind of species does that? Asked a young warrior. The kind, Thakin replied, that remembers what it's like to be alone in the dark. Jinha made one final broadcast to the galaxy. His words reached every ship, every station, every world in Confederation space. For 200 years, you told yourselves we were gone. You were wrong, we were learning, we were growing. We were becoming something you never expected. He paused, looking out at the stars that had once seemed so cold and distant. We are humanity. We are the fire that burns in the dark. We are the hope that survives when hope should be dead. We are the ones who stand up when everyone else sits down. You have a choice. You can learn to live with us as equals, working together to make the galaxy better for everyone. Or you can learn to live with us as the thing that stands between. You and the people you try to abandon, but you will learn to live with us, because we're not going anywhere. And the next time someone calls for help, we'll be there. Whether you want us to be or not. The transmission ended. On Caliph Prime, the healing was complete. 3 worlds that had been dead now bloomed with life. The Thurny people emerged from their shelters to find their homes damaged but their future bright. The Indomitable prepared to leave. Her work here was done. Where to next, Commander? Harin asked. Jinha looked at the star charts. Somewhere out there, someone else would need help. Someone else would call out in the darkness, hoping for a miracle. Wherever we're needed, he said. The ship turned toward the stars and disappeared into hyperspace. Behind them, Caliph Prime turned green and blue again under its sun. Ahead of them lay the galaxy, vast and full of possibilities. The age of comfortable order was over. The age of human determination had begun. And across the stars, those who had forgotten what it meant to hope began to remember.